All right, welcome to Chapter 5, and we're still talking about resources. Chapter 4 was about population and resources, with food being the resource. But there are many more resources than food, as we're going to talk about. Food is just probably the most important, but what is a resource? And the definition that I always like is it's the means of supplying a want or a deficiency. If you are hungry, food supplies that deficiency. You need food. But what if you want heat, or you want electricity, or you want clothing, right? So we use natural resources to supply that, don't we? If you want clothing, right, we find something to make cloth like cotton out of, or linen. If you want food, we have animals. But what if you want home or a house, and there's wood or trees, concrete, oil to make electricity? All of these resources naturally occur, and last time I checked, and trust me, I check every day, nothing from aliens is making it to the planet. So they're still maintaining the blockade around us like you see on Star Trek, okay? Everything comes from nature, everything is a resource, but wood and oil and gold does not have a cost until we give it a cost. In other words, we commodify something, we give it a price, so it can be bought and sold. So let's explore that. This data I just checked yesterday at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. By the way, this building right down the street from Harold Washington, they actually buy and sell commodities in there. Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Gold yesterday was selling for $1,730.50 an ounce. Interestingly enough, a year ago today, it was only $1,331. So it's kind of about 400, almost $500 an ounce. And so what that one thing tells you is, one, the price of gold can shift and go up and down, right? And I want you to think about what would have happened between now and a year ago that would make gold more valuable. Did we discover a new use for it? Or is it maybe something that people think it has more worth for various reasons? We'll come back to that. Oil right now is selling for approximately $1.35 a gallon. Now this is crude oil before it's made into gas. In the last year, it's ranged from about $2.33 a gallon to as low as 61 cents a gallon. Rubber right now is going for 61 cents a gallon. So these are prices for the raw commodities. Now think about these prices. They're shifting, they're moving. So what does that mean? Well, resources are socially constructed. So gold. Gold does not have an inherent value other than we desire it. You can't eat it. It does not give you sustenance or nourishment, right? But we value gold. Why? For jewelry. It does have some use in electronics. But because enough people think that gold is worth $1,730 an ounce, that's why it costs that. A year ago, people only felt it was worth $1,331. So, in other words, we control the value, don't we? It's a socially constructed value. Why do certain shoes cost more? Why do certain types of clothing with different names on them cost more? A t-shirt that has nothing on it, made by the same company that puts a Nike logo on it, and the Nike logo makes the shirt worth more money, that's a social construct. Enough of us agree that that happens, that exists. Secondly, what are some of the things that make the prices change? Social, technical, economic considerations. Why would gold go up that much money in 1 year? A huge rise? Well, if you think about the coronavirus and the economic downturn, whenever there is a lot of economic uncertainty, a lot of people are afraid of losing money in the stock market. Gold always tends to rise in price because people feel that gold has traditionally always been a safe investment. If you look throughout human history, gold has held value. And so in times of economic uncertainty, usually gold prices go up. And if you think about what we have the most unemployment in this country since the Great Depression of the 1930s, that's a huge increase. Think about oil. Why did oil go down? That's a technical issue, right? We're actually not oil. We're still using oil to fuel our economies. But think about what happens with the coronavirus. All of a sudden, people aren't driving, are they? People are driving far less or staying home. All of a sudden, there's not as much need for oil. And so if people aren't buying it as much, people aren't going to pay as much for it. So these things all affect not only the social aspect of the price, but the technical aspect of the price. And let's take a look at this more in detail with coal. So if you're not sure, we're not familiar, just so we're all on the same page, coal is a rock. that burns, and it's used to make electricity and heat. So we're going to look at the case of coal in the United Kingdom, in Great Britain. So as the population grew in the early Middle Ages, about the year 1000, by about the year 1200, most people were using wood, fires, to heat their houses, cook their food. But the population continued to grow, and so by the year 1200, most of the forest had been cut down. So there was less wood. Wood became very expensive. People started looking for alternative ways to create fire. And England has a large amount of coal that is buried right beneath the surface, very easy to get to. You literally just take a shovel and dig it up, and coal burns. Now here's the thing. Wood burns cleaner than coal. Coal puts off twice as much smoke and soot, so it's not as attractive, but it's much cheaper at this point because there's so few forests left, and coal is just everywhere. You literally at the time could just go pick it out of the ground. So coal became the main source of energy, of heat, for most of England. So much so that by the 1600s, within 400 years, there was marked pollution in the major cities, and London actually had issues with air quality, so much coal soot that people were noticing it, having shortness of breath. Also, though, continually, as they're digging this coal and burning the coal, the easy to get to stuff is gone. They have to dig down deeper and deeper. They have to dig deeper mines. Well, that costs more money. So the deeper they dig, the more it costs to get coal. But because people still needed it and there was more demand, people were willing to pay more for coal. So that justified that extraction. So I'll use this as an example. Gasoline prices continue to rise. At what point are you going to say, I can't drive anymore? Right now we're saying about $2.50, $2.75 a gallon for gas. Very, very inexpensive by our standards. But if gas prices went up by 50 cents, $3 a gallon, do you think everybody would stop driving? Probably not. What about $3.50, $4, $5? Maybe at $5 they might slow down a little bit, right? Unless it goes to like $15 a gallon, most people really aren't going to make big changes because our whole economy is based on having cars and trucks to move things around. And the same thing with coal. You could spend more money to dig the coal because you knew you were going to get that money back. But what also happens is this technology needed to dig the coal. As they dug deeper mines, they had to invest in better digging material, better material. And they actually started to create this new industry, coal mining. And one of the things that happened is James Watt invents a machine to pump water. Because the deeper you dig a mine, the more water comes in. So then it floods and you can't dig anymore. So they were using pumps. And they would have people man these pumps to pump the water out. Not as efficient. So James Watt builds this engine that burns coal to heat water, make steam, invents basically the modern steam engine to power a pump to drain the mine. The steam engine was then later adapted for the first industrial revolution. So the very first large factories were powered by coal. And so this drive for coal leads to a whole new technology that basically makes Britain the world's most powerful nation, and later the United States, the use of coal for industrial technology. In fact, coal was seen as a symbol of power and wealth, because if you had a lot of smokestacks, that meant you had a lot of factories and you were a very powerful nation. They took pride, actually, in their factory chimneys. And looking today, coal is what we call a non-renewable resource, right? So is oil. Once you dig all the coal out of the ground, there's not going to be any more, probably for another 55 million years. And when you consider the fact that it took 2 million years for humans to evolve, pretty much not in our lifetime. So non-renewable. This map of the United States just shows where we can still dig for coal. The United States is not the top coal producer anymore, but we are within the top 2 or 3 usually. In fact, large parts of downstate Illinois here, southern Illinois, were coal mines. But oil and coal are what they call fossil fuels because they are actually made basically from the fossils of ancient dinosaurs and plants. We've had oil and coal for millions of years. They've been in the ground. But until they were valuable, until we could use them, they were nothing but a nuisance. In the 1820s, people would often come across oil slipping out of the ground, and that was seen as a hazard because there was no use for it. Once oil became valuable, all of a sudden now, people want to dig for oil and coal. They call this the carbon economy. And what that means quite simply is if you think about the world economy, right? It's fueled by burning fossil fuels, coal for electricity, gasoline to power cars and ships and airplanes. And so with the carbon economy, I can't talk. Oil and coal have become extremely valuable. All right, we're going to pause right here because I need to take another pill to clear my nose and have some coffee, and we'll come back and talk more about coal.